Hey, it's Jack from Alphacharts with a state of the market video. Today is May 4th, 2024. Before we get started, this video is for informational purposes only. These are not recommendations to buy, sell, or hold any stock or security, and I may hold positions in some of the equities mentioned. Know your time frame and risk tolerance. If you haven't done so, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. They say it helps with the algorithm, and my algorithm needs as much help as possible. So I would appreciate if you can, again, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you. Also, you can find me on X at Alphacharts365. I'm posting charts and market related information most of the time on there, and I think it's pretty valuable. If you really like my information, I do offer a subscription service. It's $10 a month, but you get the value out of that is really, really high. As from end of week video, midweek video, market note at least twice a week, if not more. We do focus lists, as within I do annotated charts on those focus lists with triggers and to buy, where I'd manage risk, where I take profits, things of that nature, what I'm looking for, and just so much more. So it's great for the person that works full time. Also great for a seasoned trader that says I need somebody to just bounce my ideas or see if I'm see if get another point of view basically. And for $10 a month, it's really, I mean, just the best value out there. So check it out at Alphacharts 365. All right, let's start with the SPY here. And we had a nice day, up 1.24% on Friday. Again, we've made this significant higher low here. Now we actually have a higher high coming up right to this little band of potential resistance here. And so we're going to see, is this the start of a right shoulder? I don't know. I'm not like betting the farm on this pattern at all. I'm just saying it's a possibility. Or does this bust out and get above it? And I think, what's the high here? 55, 12, 55. Yeah, so around, we'll call it 513. If it gets to 513-ish, it's above the 50-day, above this little band. I mean, it's hard that you can't, flip very bullish at that point, right? But as long as we're below this 50-day, and we did get rejected right in this general supply zone, I'm going to keep that cautious. And again, we could flip midweek, right? You have to wait for next weekend to potentially flip, right? If this rolls over, I wouldn't be 100% shocked either, right? That wouldn't be like, we're still seeing, disbelief in this market. Now, sometimes, bull markets are started on disbelief, right? Not everyone's believing that start of the next bull run. But as of right now, I'm still being cautious until we get above, we'll call it 513-ish. That would be my all clear type of area. On the week, the market was up 60 basis points. And you see how the buyers really came in this week, right there on the weekly candle, up 0.6. Now RSP was up only 0.2. Okay, so it shows you that it's been mega cap dominated for the most part. Doesn't make it wrong, but just the way it is. Only 0.2 on the cap weighted, and still, pretty well under the 50-day and the supply area. Still have a nice higher low right there. So that's very constructive. And we'll see if this can, again, get above 164, 10, 165-ish, that area. Going to Qs, again, stopped right at the 50-day, just like this SPY, or SPY is what we looked at. So right at the 50-day, and listen, I don't know if this ABC pattern is going to play out or not. It looks like it may have been right here, right on Thursday, and then Friday you get the big gap up and the big move, and that's why we draw things in here as potentials, and we go from there. Now it did stop at the 50-day, so it needs to get above the 50-day for me to get much more. I'm gonna pull this right across here to get more bullish. And then we'll see what happens when it gets up to this 447, if it gets that way, right? Still roll over. But as of right now, the 50-day is a significant spot once again, and we've talked about that quite a bit. On the week, it was up about 1%, 1.03. Equal weighted was up 0.16. Wow, that's pretty good divergence right there, right? Again, the buyers did show up, but look at the difference in cap weighted versus non-cap weighted. I mean, the big boys were carrying the water all week long, that tells you. You used to have a declining, pretty good declining 50-day moving average on the equal weighted Nasdaq, and not nearly as good as the cap weighted, right? I mean, that's a much nicer looking chart than that. So again, it just shows you that the big boys are carrying the water. Look at mid caps above the 50-day. That's the first chart we said is above the 50-day. So they came back, they went above the 50-day, basically at the 50-day, right? But are above it. Let's not diminish what they've done. And so that's strength right there. So that's nice to see. And small caps, they tried to get above it and they got shoved back down below it. So yeah, they closed below the 50-day. Again, still flattening 50-day. Prices get above it for us to get more bullish. That's just the way it goes. But on the week, up 1.76, mid caps were up 1.2. So we can see that the smalls and the mids did very, very well, with the small caps outperforming. So that's very nice to see. Let's go to the XLF. Still underneath that 50-day. Again, so only the mid caps so far have been above it. Same thing for, look at this, SMH, right to the VWAP from our cautionary candle, right? And this was the highs. Also, right to the 50-day moving average and right at the trend line. Like, that's the point of impact right there, right? 219, we'll call it 75. 219.75 or so. And I think, we could be long semiconductors and let's go. Below that, I'm not sure again, and no real volume coming in off this thrust higher. But for the week, semis were up. Oh, they were flat, even on the week. That's interesting. And XSD, the equal weights, now they were up 0.5%, which is nice to see. And they are above the 50-day. So it's just not NVIDIA that tells you, right? That people are buying all kinds of semis. And again, a little bit more constructive, like the mid caps. Nice to see. Transports, again, looks about even for the week, maybe up just a little bit. Yeah, about even on the week. Still below a declining 50-day. Equal weight transports, same thing. Housing, right at the 50-day, but could not break it. ITB. And then XHB, the other housing one, is right at the 50-day and slightly broke it by a few pennies. Okay. So it's all about the 50-day, right? That is the line in the sand at this point. I mean, just on a price perspective, we got to say, we're going to get more bullish above that 50-day and we're going to remain bearish below it. A lot of these, like SMH is right there, right? They're right at the 50-day. XLF, right at the 50-day. Even, the Qs are right at the 50-day. SPY, right at the 50-day. So those are things that we're watching. Let's look at the internals and see if they tell us any more add any more to the story, right? VIX came down as we would expect with some of that positive price action. We're now at below 13.5. Again, a very bullish area for the VIX to be in. Credit spreads, my guess would be also very stable. Nothing to worry about there. I'm not, they're not pricing in anything crazy happening anytime soon. Let's see, percent stocks above the 50-day moving average. They moved up, still under that 50% line, but they are making some, breadth is improving. And yeah, I must have added something where my put call ratio doesn't come up right away. Yeah, put call ratio is not extreme in any way, shape, or form. So there is no signal there, right? So far, everything is kind of, everything's fine. DXY, the dollar. So this was interesting. The dollar I was expecting it to come up into this 107-ish area, and it did the opposite. Now, it's still holding this potential area of support here, but I sold it back up into it. Or actually bought up into it, I should say. Um, but um, but still, the expectation was it was going to go higher, and it didn't. So that is really, really interesting. Um, in that respect, and we'll see if that reverses or not. But if it doesn't, it just kind of hangs out here, right, and just kind of chops sideways. I think that's a positive for stocks, right? What we don't want to see is a big spike up, a quick spike up like this. This would be more trouble for stocks, right? I thought it was inducing. You see how this is kind of here? The up, and the consolidation, and I thought it'd go up one more time, right? That's what this looks like to me. But it didn't, right? And that's why we watch the charts and we let them tell us what's going on. And you see, as the dollar came back, that things kind of calmed down. And when we look at the 10-year, again, it fell, right? It fell. Here was kind of a consolidation within the context of a bigger uptrend, and the expectation would be moved to that 5% or so, and it came down to 4.5. And that's that's a pretty bullish outcome. I think that's why I think the small caps did so well, is because we had that type of move. So in the end, summing it up, the internals for me, they look constructive, right? They look constructive. I mean, this is constructive. I think there's one more hurdle with one more big week of earnings, really. I think this next week is, week and a half or so is going to be the last really, really big week of earnings. But overall, if we get above the 50-day, above this 513 on SPY, above, 437-ish, on Nasdaq, I think that, we can, again, add progressive exposure. That's it. So, again, doesn't mean just because we drew this in, doesn't mean it's going to happen. It's going to have to happen. It's just, one particular scenario that's possible. This is another scenario that this was the bottom. Whether we think it should be or shouldn't be doesn't really matter at this point, right? All we know is that we have some higher highs, some higher lows, and we have a potential resistance area. That's it. Above it, I'm going to be much more bullish, progressive exposure in the names I want. This would have given us reason or potential ability to get into some of the names that we've been watching and want to be involved in. And I think that will give us the opportunity to jump in there. But I'm still not going to do much until we get that price confirmation. Okay. Maybe it comes Monday. We'll see. Anyway, so still keeping a cautionary stance in this market, but that will change or could change. Most likely will change this week for sure. We'll either get the rollover or we're going to get the breakout this week. So it should be an interesting week. Hope you all are doing well. If you haven't done so, please like and subscribe to the video, and please check out my subscription and join it. Thank you.